Justin and John have written some marvellous songs, but Ray's are just out there with the lyrics and the ideas of them are so amazing. And the fans know this, and they always want him to do more. So when he left, I mean, I know the fans missed him like mad, and when he left, nobody said he'd left. They were just sort of saying, oh, well, he'll be back. Or
I do miss him as a more as a chap and a friend. I miss him than inside the group, because I don't believe his heart was in it in the last few years. But in the mid-90s, I had a solo album out. It's called The View from the Hill, and it did okay and had some success, and it took me around the world and made a lot of friends with it. But I did a showcase in Los Angeles with a girl called Norda Mullen, who plays flute and guitar and sings.
I had done a Bugs Bunny on Broadway thing on piccolo for Warner Brothers, and I believe that either Justin or the agent, Robert Norman, went to a conductor who had conducted me playing piccolo, and he said, we need a flutist that can really play but can look the part of a rock and roll flutist instead of looking like a classical, you know. I don't mean to criticize classical musicians, but you know the look. So this conductor said, I've got the perfect name for you, and I think Justin or whoever said, give me 20 names, and this guy said, this is the only name you're going to need.
Because when you're replacing a flute player, where do you find a rock and roll flute player? There's one. It's probably going to be on this series, isn't there, that everybody knows. And funnily enough, I did meet Ian Anderson only recently. I've known him for years, but we met again recently in Germany last year.
I think it was it the 50 years of rock and roll, big TV show in Germany, kind of 3-hour special covering the whole deal, from Bill Haley and the Comets to the Rasmus or whatever was current at the time and on the show. And I discovered the Moody Blues were on, and I knew that Ray Thomas, flute player, had left, so I thought, this is my big chance. You know, if I ask nicely, maybe they'll let me play. I'll get to play flute in Nights on White Satin, because I figured that's the one they would do, which of course they did. But my heart fell when I saw that standing next to Justin Hayward, there was a rather attractive young lady flute player who had been enlisted after the demise of Ray Thomas. So I have still no chance.
He came up to me in the corridor with this thing. He says, why didn't you ask me when Ray left? And I said, well, it's just the solo, you know. He said, I've always wanted to do that solo. So whether he meant it or not, I don't know. But I remembered Norda, this girl, and she's from Mississippi. She's Irish from Mississippi. She's a wonderful combination. I found her in Los Angeles doing a lot of session work and film work. And she'd been brought up on the flute parts of the Moody Blues.
I had 5 older siblings, and they were, since I did grow up in Mississippi, I was influenced by a lot of different kinds of music, but my older siblings were all kind of hippies and going through their whole 60s things, and one of their favorite bands was the Moody Blues. And I remember a particular time, and one of my sisters was having a party when I was maybe 12, I guess, or 10 or 12, and I wasn't allowed to go to the party, but it was going on in the next room, and the door was closed, and they kept playing this album, I guess it was Days of Future Past, that has Nights in White Satin on it, and this song kept coming up, Nights in White Satin, and I had my flute with me because I didn't have anything to do. I couldn't go to this party, so I sat and figured out the flute solo from Nights in White Satin, and that was the first time in my life I ever realized I could play by ear on the flute and that I didn't have to read music to play, because I'm very classically trained. So that was a real awakening for me, because it kind of freed me up as far as the music reading thing, and how ironic that it was Nights in White Satin, which now I get to play nightly with these guys, and it's quite an honor.
She knew all of the parts. I found her, we got together in Las Vegas, I think. I introduced her to the rest of the guys, and it was fantastic.
But it worked great. I had about a month to learn the whole show, because that's when Ray, I guess, had told them that he wouldn't be joining them, and then we rehearsed for 4 straight days in Philadelphia, and it went just fine. It was great. It's been a blast ever since.
Well, this band is so lucky. Where on earth do you go and find a classically trained virtuoso flautist with the heart of a rock and roller? I mean, how did we come up with that one? Yep, yeah, not a plum.
That rock thing, which again, I don't even know if I'm that good at it, because it's very, very hard. Like I said, when you've been trained, it's so hard to back up you know, and to just do a whole different style. I mean, maybe it's not so hard, wouldn't be hard for Ian Anderson because he wasn't trained classically, but I think when you're trained in such a regimented way, it's very much a challenge.
It's always been a difficult instrument to integrate into rock music because it's an acoustic instrument. It's not easy to amplify, and you just basically have to play it as loudly as you can into a microphone.
We rehearsed for about 4 days in Philadelphia, and then it was the very last day that it occurred to me, because I was so busy with the project I had, which was to learn. I play rhythm guitar, and I have to sing backgrounds, and I have to learn all the flute stuff, and it really didn't dawn on me until that very last day, and I just said, Justin, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm replacing Ray. They're going to hate me. You know, they're going to throw tomatoes at me. And he's, oh, you know, he said probably some funny comment. I can't remember, and it really did scare me. And I was very sensitive to that, because I'm sensitive anyway, but I was sensitive to it. And, you know, the first tour was very rough, and I was very insecure about it. And I would notice, I can see people, we can see a lot more than people think we can see. And I could see their reaction, and sometimes it wasn't good, you know, and then they just kind of wanted to hate me for whatever reason. I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't like I locked Ray up in a closet and said, you're not going to do this anymore. I mean, it was Ray's choice, you know. But they kind of treated it like it was my problem, my idea, which it just so wasn't. So then I just decided, you know what, I'm doing this. I've been hired for a job. It's a professional job. I'm just going to think of it in a professional sense, and they can have whatever problems they want to have. But then by the second tour, it all just kind of flipped, and they just somehow decided just to like me. And now it's great, but it was definitely difficult at first.
Lean on me, I'll be there whenever you need someone to share in every prayer, in every dream you left somewhere. Till tomorrow will be just like it was when we were young.
Today, the Moody Blues continue with the core trio of Hayward, Lodge and Edge.
I couldn't foresee a Moody Blues without the presence